Are you constantly making goals for yourself only to give up just a few weeks later, whether it's losing weight, meeting someone new, or getting that promotion? Perhaps you are your biggest obstacle.
Clinical psychologist, professor, and TV host, Dr. Judy Ho. She is here to help, and she has this new book titled Stop Self-Sabotage, 6 Steps to Unlock Your True Motivation, Harness Your Willpower, and Get Out of Your Own Way. Welcome.
Hi, Marla.
Hi.
Thanks for having me here on my pub birthday.
Yes,
the book is out today. So
congratulations.
So excited for you.
Thank you, guys.
So how often does this happen? How often do we self-sabotage?
It is so common. I believe it's a universal phenomenon because it is rooted in biology and our evolutionary roots. Human beings only have 2 drives. It's to attain rewards and to avoid threat. That's how we survive. That's how we survive as individuals and as a species. And the self-sabotage switch turns on when we start to avoid threat a little too much. So those 2 things are no longer in balance, and we start to fear things like fear of failure, fear of rejection. Interestingly, for our minds and bodies, emotional and psychological threat feel the same thing as a physical threat. So that fight or flight response kicks up, and it makes you want to run away and avoid the things that actually will make you really happy.
It sounds like just getting into your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Which happens all the time for everyone.
Everybody. And because language is so important for us as human beings, right? I mean, it's how we communicate, it's how we've achieved so much. And so whenever we hear negative self-talk, we immediately want to believe that self-talk and kind of do something about it or act upon it. And that's partially what leads to that self-sabotage trigger.
So how do you overcome this then? Especially like with fear. People run away when they're fearful, but it's empowering to overcome that fear.
Yeah, and you know, fear gets bigger and bigger the more you run away. In some ways it's kind of reinforcing because you get that sense of relief. And then the next time you run away again, you get that sense of relief. So it can be reinforcing if you don't kind of nail it and just look at it in the eye and say, I'm going to actually do something about it today. And so one of the biggest things that I tell people to do is take a life assessment. So I made up an acronym about exactly what is leading you to push that self-sabotage switch. And L of life stands for low self-concept or low self-esteem. Obviously, if you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to believe that you deserve good things. And I stands for internalized beliefs. These are the things that we learn from childhood, watching our parents and how they respond to triggers and stresses, and then we start to adopt that for ourselves. F stands for fear of change or the unknown. All human beings have a little bit of a fear of that because we want to believe that we're masters of our universe. And the last one is E, so that's excessive need for control. These are for the perfectionists, the go-getters, and sometimes if they don't see that they can control every step of the way, they might not even take a step. And that, I think, happens a lot, for example, in self-sabotaging romantic relationships, because there's always another person there and you can't control what they do and how they feel, whether they'll love you, whether they'll leave you.
So what's your advice to the person who just doesn't have that personality? You know, they don't have the personality where they have the fear, they might have some low self-esteem, and really has to take that first step to pony up to that challenge.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of the times people just can't see how to get to the end goal. They know what their life should look like, they know what they want it to look like, but they don't know how to start. And so my book is really all about practical steps, like this is all you have to do today, and then you're going to be on your way. So it's really important to make things very specific and very practical for people, because otherwise, when you have this huge, big pie in the sky thing, it's hard because it's like, well, how am I going to get from A to B, right? It's too overwhelming. So it's all about breaking it down into really simple, executable steps that they can start with today.
And vision boards, you're not a fan.
Yeah, I have a beef with vision boards. I'm going to write an op-ed about this.
People have parties. You're destroying people's dreams.
I'm so
here.
sorry. I know. I feel like I'm ruining people's lives. But no, I mean, vision boards are obviously great because visualization is great for human beings. But the problem with vision boards is exactly that. You put this lofty goal on there, but there's no plan to get there. It's sort of like, I'm going to have a $5 million house. And then at the end of the year, you feel like a failure. But there was no prescription to get there. So my answer is called a blueprint for change. So just like a blueprint for the house, you would actually have very specific, tangible steps on how you would get to that goal. So you would have the goal there, but you have these very specific steps that you can follow through on, and you want to make sure that your goals are always rooted in your values. So things that are truly important to you instead of just what your mom wants or your coworker wants.
I think we just need to invite you to our vision board party.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And then I'm going to put this on my vision board, like right
Yeah,
next to
yeah, perfect, awesome.
It's a win-win.
Congrats so much on the book. Stop Self-Sabotage. It's out today.
Dr. Judy Ho, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Wealth of information.